I know I'm going to get some blowback from this episode, but I have to say, I really feel like Tesla needs some sort of UnPR department to be able to combat the FUD that's out there, but I think there's an even more important long-term reason for them to have some sort of PR, UnPR, misinformation, whatever you want to call it, department. Let's take a look. And for those of you interested in investing, check out WeBull, an amazing platform for buying and selling stocks, and now cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and others. Open an account and get a free stock valued at up to $200, and fund your account and get another free stock valued at up to $1,600. Check out the link in the description and help the channel at the same time. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I know there's a lot of people that vehemently disagree with Tesla needing a PR department and say that Tesla sell themselves and that there's no reason why there should be any PR department at all. But I think that there actually is a need for it. I don't think they need a traditional PR department, which is why I've often called it their UnPR department. In fact, I have a Twitter account called Tesla UnPR, which you can subscribe to if you want to. Anyway, I was going to give it to Tesla if they were ever interested in that. But anyway, I have that. I've also got the idea that they could have a misinformation department, and it could actually be run by my wife, because her name on Discord is Misinformation. That goes with Dr. Know-It-All, right? Get it? Anyway, I think that it's very important that they have this to combat the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the FUD that people put out on the internet and in mainstream media. And of course, one of those cases is the recent CNBC thing that I did a video on recently, so you can check that out if you're interested. So anyway, that is a very important aspect of it, but I think that there is a pretty reasonable argument against having a PR department to combat that, because it's pretty reasonable to say that it's not going to be very effective, right? Somebody produces a bad article about you or a video or something like that, and then you try to combat that, and it just keeps it going, and it sort of churns through the media, and people will keep spinning it, and the haters are going to hate and whatever. So you really can't get ahead of that kind of thing. But I think that there's an entirely different rationale for it, and it's much more important to the long-term success of Tesla. So I'm going to start this out with an anecdote, because I think even though it's an individual story, I think it represents something wider that's going on, or potentially could go on. Okay, so I have a friend who's in his mid-40s. He doesn't know anything about EVs or Teslas or anything. In fact, when I talked to him, he thought that Teslas were actually, I think he thought they were hybrids. He kept asking where the exhaust port was and stuff. So I think he thought they were more or less like Priuses, right? That they had a small battery with a gas engine and things like that. So anyway, I said, no, come, let's just check it out. So he went for a 20-minute test drive with me in my Model Y, drove around, couldn't stop raving about it, was like, damn, I got to go look for this. I'm going to go find myself one. I'm going to order one, etc., etc., etc. So I then went on Twitter and also on my Discord channel for my Patreon members. And if you're not a member, you should definitely check out the link in the description. But anyway, I talked about this. I related this story, and I had a person respond to that. One of my Patreon members said, oh, that's really cool. I had a relative who recently checked out an Arcimoto, which is a really cool, like a three-wheel vehicle. And that person couldn't stop raving about the Arcimoto and really wants to get one. And that gave me a lot of pause, because I thought, okay, here we have a massive disruption in technology that's going on. We're moving away from internal combustion or ICE engines towards EVs. And there is a moment where every single person who's going to purchase a car eventually is going to have a first experience with an EV vehicle. And that EV vehicle could be a Tesla, but it could also be a Ford Mach-E, it could be an F-150 Lightning, it could be a Chevy Bolt. In fact, that was the first EV that I drove, was my brother's Chevy Bolt, and I had a great time. I was like, wow, this is a great car, I should get one of these. Glad I didn't, because of the battery recalls and everything. But anyway, so you've got that, you've also got Arcimoto, you've got all these other companies, and basically what's going on is you have that first time that somebody tries one, when they put their butt in a seat. An EV vehicle, even not a fantastic EV vehicle, is so much better than an ICE car that people are like, oh gosh, I've got to get one of these, which then means that that person is much more likely to buy the particular EV that they sat in first, as opposed to checking out any others. You've got to remember, what we've started with so far is we began, in the 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, when the Roadster and then the Model S came out. It was a very small group of people. They kind of knew each other. They often had the kind of money where they could purchase purchase a car that they knew was potentially not the greatest thing in the world. Of course, then they found out it was, but the community was a relatively small community all the way until 2018, 2019, 2020, as Tesla started to produce more and more and more vehicles. And so what's happening is we're going from a group of people that really knows the technology well, a group of early adopters that's willing to do the research, that's really willing to look at these things and say, is this a better car than this car? Do an apples to apples comparison, not just go like, oh, hey, the Ford Mach-E has the same number of miles of range EPA rated as the Tesla Model Y. I don't think it is, but anyway, let's just say they were the same number of miles. But they're not knowledgeable enough, or they're not willing to go to the effort of saying like, but wait, what's the mileage efficiency per kilowatt hour in this thing? What does the cooling system look like? What is the overall maintenance schedule for this car long term? What are these other factors, right? So there's a lot of things that people who are early adopters, more technology savvy people will look at that the general public is not going to look at. And we're now broaching that thing, right? We're hitting the steep part of the S-curve where we're going from those technologically savvy early adopters to the middle of the road people. So we're getting people who are not willing to do as much research. We're getting people who don't know as much about this kind of technology. And we're getting people who could be swayed by advertising or information. So again, if they see something from GM or Ford or Volkswagen that says, we're the first, we've got the first EV, they might just say like, oh, okay, they've got the first EV. They might not even think about it. Because again, this person didn't even know that Teslas were actually EVs. He thought that they were like hybrid type vehicles. So this is the kind of population that we're moving into now. And Tesla for years has done the right thing. They haven't advertised. They even don't even have a PR department. And it hasn't mattered. And it really doesn't matter right now either. We're talking about 6 months plus waiting times for all of their vehicles. But what I'm saying is they need to start thinking about not now, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years into the future. They don't want somebody purchasing another model of a car because Tesla didn't do any kind of marketing at all. And again, I'm not saying traditional advertising and stuff, but at least having things online that are easy to get to. Even Elon has said that they should have some informational sort of infomercial kind of things out there that talk about the features of Teslas. Basically, they need to get people's butts in seats and having some sort of media outlet out there that allows people to interact with a Tesla and feel comfortable enough to go to a showroom and give it a try. That's all they have to do, because once you sit in one, you're like, oh, I want one of these cars, right? So that connects the brain up to like, need this thing. Maybe Tesla doesn't care because maybe they're thinking in 5 or 6 years that there will be no more cars sold, or much fewer cars sold, because most of them are going to be full self-driving robotaxis, autonomous robotaxis. I've done episodes on that. That is a reasonable possibility, but again, if things go slower than they think, what they don't want is people moving and purchasing Fords, Volkswagens, GMs, Toyotas, Neos, Chinese car company manufactured cars. They don't want them to get into these other cars first, because these cars are so much better that even if they're suboptimal, even if they're not as good as what a Tesla is, people won't even know, because they're not the kind of people who are going to go out and do the research. They'll just go like, wow, this is so much better than the ICE car I had. I'll just stick with this. This is fantastic. So that's the danger that Tesla has long term. If they don't do something to get the word out and to help get butts in seats, then they're going to be in a situation where they could actually lose customers long term. Again, it may not matter that much if autonomous ride hailing comes about and most people don't own cars by 2030, but if it doesn't happen as fast as Tesla and a lot of us think it will, then they really need to have a backup plan. It doesn't cost that much money to put out some informational videos, try to get things out a little bit more, help out even people like me and people who have bigger audiences than I do, right? Help us out with more and more information and give us some good stuff that we can talk about. It's just a way of getting out information and helping people to go and test out a Tesla first as opposed to another vehicle. It's very important that they do that, because whatever that first EV that they sit in is going to be so much better than an ICE car that that's the one they're going to want to buy if they're not willing to do the research. So what do you think about that? I'll be very interested to hear what you have to say about it in the comments. Definitely let me know. I have a feeling I'll get some blowback about this and people will say like, nope, it's not needed. You're crazy. But at least give me a rational argument if you want to argue against that. I would be perfectly happy to change my mind if you prove me wrong. But I at least think I have a reasonable case, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it fun and interesting and thought-provoking. If you did, definitely like the video so other people can find it, and also consider subscribing for more of this. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you all so much. I have a special shout out to Charles George today for being a Gigawatt supporter. Thank you, I really appreciate it. And of course, your name is going to be in the credits as a producer from now on, so thank you. And of course, if you want to join the team, definitely check out the link in the description. And if you're interested in a whole bunch of really cool merch, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. We have TeslaBot t-shirts, the Tesla meme t-shirt, Success is a Possible Outcome, 4680 battery cells. All of that stuff is on t-shirts, mugs, tumblers, and on. So check it out. And for those of you interested in investing, check out WeBull, an amazing platform for buying and selling stocks, and now cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and others. Open an account and get a free stock valued at up to $200, and fund your account and get another free stock valued at up to $1,600. Check out the link in the description and help the channel at the same time. Thank you. And finally, don't forget we are both Tesla and Amazon affiliates. If you look in the description, you can see how going shopping for a solar roof, a power wall, or anything on Amazon helps out the channel. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.